Organic media is what you do whenever you're on your Facebook page and you're just posting. It is you, it's content that does not have money behind it, whether it be Facebook ads or boosting. It is just unpaid media. This is where you can measure your followers and reach, impressions, engagement, and all of that happening naturally. And that is a really good litmus for knowing what your existing base is and people that are already engaged in your work, because they are people that would be naturally in your universe based on your topic. So I farm and do soil science stuff. And so I naturally am finding, and I go and search for specific individual groups. They did not have to come find me. I went and found them. And that's really a main difference between organic and paid. This is a top line. So how you use organic media to increase your audience is that, number one, you are posting consistently. Consistently meaning 3 to 5 times a week, and you're posting a variety of content. This is also a really great place with your organic membership to test out and do deep listening. Whenever we, for example, tax and budget policy, I work with organizations that talk about tax and budget policy. And one big lesson learned is that tax and budget policy can sound and read like a cracker, like very dry, stale toast. It is not the most appealing thing whenever you're needing to get people like deeply educated and knowing what's going on, but also like really engaged and hungry to know more. And so this is a really great place with your organic base, your organic audience, of being able to do deep listening and saying, how are people naturally talking about this topic that our organization is talking about? This is a good place for you to say, like, what has been working, and also what are some growing edges we have. If this tax and budget policy group has just really been talking and using dry language and using things that only like lawyers and people with a finance degree really understands, then you can ask yourself some questions of, is this the audience that we want to go with, or is there ways that we need to grow beyond this? And if we are going to grow into new audiences, what are we needing to learn so that we are speaking to an audience and speaking with an audience, not just essentially forcing a new audience to start using our words. That is where you get to have a bad reputation, and you also start to sound pretty hollow. People smell bullshit a mile away, pardon my French, but it is very clear and it becomes very apparent, especially in today's world where younger people, so I'm 30, below me are generations that have been advertised to their entire lives. And so they are the hardest to actually advertise to, because they've gotten really good at knowing this is like, they're really good at spotting ads and then tuning them out. Something I'll just say at the top as well is that Facebook as a social platform, it's framed as a social platform, but actually it's an advertisement platform. And so everything has an advertisement like edge to it. And so this is where, whenever you're wanting people to do something with you, most people on Facebook that are pages, organizations, companies, they're all asking us to do something. So really it's about figuring out with your organic base, why are they, like, what brought them to you? What's going to keep them hanging around? And then also, what is it going to take for them to want to take action? Whenever so many people are asking them to do something, what's the uniqueness about your organization that's going to have them sign a petition or come to an action or something like that? So there's a whole lane of organic media lessons I will get to in a minute. Jumping over to paid media. Paid media is what is money that is behind content. So essentially how Facebook algorithm works is that you have a page, you have your, Facebook page, your audience, that is essentially around 10, whenever you post something as a page, you essentially are talking to around 10% of your base at any given time. You may have a Facebook page of 30,000 people and you're only speaking to a fraction of them at any given time. Because since Facebook is an advertisement platform, it gives preferential treatment to content that you paid as an ad to have others see. And so this is where we start talking about silos. And this has been a big topic of conversation for a long time, is whenever I am speaking to an individual, I am often speaking to my own, I'm speaking to my own base, you're speaking to your organic media or your organic audience, but you want to get new people involved. Facebook has set it up where you are really essentially, without money, you're speaking to a silo of individuals. If you're wanting to increase your audience, branch out into branch out for new membership, branch out and attract new individuals, you have to pay for it to have the ad cut through the different silos. And so that's why paid media can be very strategic whenever you're wanting to grow your base. Here, what I'm talking about is like, it's effective for increasing your audience, but really it needs to be strategic. If you are only having paid media that is only sending out asks for people to do something, that rubs people the wrong way as well, because you are never actually talking about celebration. You're never actually giving out things to be really happy about. You're really just asking people to do things for you. And so this is where we get into a ratio of what is the best sort of ratio when it comes to paid media, organic media, and what type, like even whenever it's unpaid, like what should I be posting? How frequently should I be posting it, and all that sort of stuff. So I will get into that in just a minute. One thing I will say is that ads can be very effective, but whenever they're put into a holistic digital plan and that you're sending them someplace that you can get information about the individual, that you can absorb them into your world. And I'll give you an example of what that looks like in a minute. So this is a screenshot that I took from a group I'm working with called inequality.org. I'm using non-Ohio examples right now, just because I did not want to be talking only about Ohio things, since we're all kind of here. This is work that I've been doing with a group that has had a following of around 10,000 people for quite a while. I started working with them on April 18th. And since then, we can see that through organic, consistent posting a variety of content on Facebook without money, we see that we're starting to grow. We see that around May 2nd, we had this bump right here, and that is actually right here and right here. This is where we did strategic ad placement. And then we can see that in conjunction between organic and paid working together, we are growing our audience double, and we are increasing our audience every week as each week passes. So actually, I think I'm going to get to this in my next slide real quick. No, I'm not. So a quick word on types of content and what Facebook gives preference to. Number one, Facebook loves videos. It loves Facebook Live videos the most. It's the most delicious thing that it puts out there, and that's why you see a lot of Facebook Lives, and that's what they want most people to be seeing, because they want more people to be doing Facebook Lives themselves. If you see an opportunity for you to do a Facebook Live, do it. Actually, I know Rural Organizing that Kellen is working with, they have a really broad reach, and they've done a lot of work, and it had an audience increase because Facebook Live videos is not necessarily something that your audience wants to view. They may, but actually Facebook Live videos is what the friends of your friends are going to see. And that's actually the trick in having people join your world. You never actually want to be speaking to your base all the time. You want to be putting out content that they would want to see, that you want them to share, that they feel comfortable having their friends see them share. Does that make sense? Is it a little convoluted? Okay. Essentially, how you grow your audience is speaking to one degree outside of your base. And this goes the same thing for ads as well. This is, if you run ads in the past, it's what we call a lookalike audience, where you can upload a list of your existing supporters from a past petition and create what is called a lookalike. And that's basically where they find people who are a lot like your existing member, but they're not actually a person that is liked and is following your Facebook page right now. This is how you can double your audience essentially overnight, is by putting out content that is not directly to your base, but to the friends of their friends. So second to Facebook Live videos, what Facebook likes best is other videos from elsewhere. This is YouTube. This is videos of you watching the ducks cross the road and you upload that, videos of some kind. The sweet spot is like a 15-second sort of clip. That's because our attention span is actually less than a goldfish now. Goldfish have an attention span of like 6 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that. I think humans, I think specifically Americans' attention span is probably around 4 seconds. So if you are having a clip of, let's say, I need you to sign this petition because it means life or death, you need to have your most important message be in the first 5 seconds of a video if you are going to do a video. That's just another snippet I'll say. So we have Facebook Live videos are the top, what Facebook likes the most, the algorithm of Facebook. Second to that would be Facebook video, would be just videos of any kind. Third to that would be graphics or images. This is why Facebook introduced, whenever you go to write a post, you can now have a background on your posts. That's because the algorithm was not having anyone see whenever you just type in words without an image or a graphic. No one was seeing them. And so Facebook, to better, to have something where even if you are just to do an update, Katie is feeling happy today. I put an image of I put that graphic with cactuses on it or something, 10 times more people see that post than if I didn't have a background at all. So third would be graphics and pictures. And then fourth, meaning it really doesn't get any sort of traction at all, is just words you type in for an update and without any image or any graphic at all. So that's why if you're going to, that's why a lot of stuff is the way it is. But I would say you can use these different types of content to your advantage. You don't have to always be posting Facebook Live videos. That would be impossible, if not just exhausting overall. But you can play around and see what types of content is working well with your audience. For example, I didn't mention quizzes. Actually, quizzes rank really high because people like to tell you what they think. This is why comments, this is coming out more and more. We now have data to show this, that Facebook as a platform gives preferential treatment in how spicy the comment section is as well. So that's why if you are seeing, and people being like, we have to delete every negative comment, well, actually, if you see that the negative comments and you have an organizer in the comment section actually having a conversation with them, the negative comments tricks the algorithm to have more people see the content. And what you can actually measure is saying, do the negative comments actually, are they pretty minimal to the reactions, the hearts, the hugs, the love, the positive comments? And therefore you actually show that the negative is far outweighed by the good. So this is one thing that people are always like, we have negative comments, they're pretty atrocious. Obviously, delete and block atrocious commenters and comments, of course. But when it comes into they're having a debate, it's sort of like a public display of what your power as an organizer can be. If you have a fleet, or if it's just you yourself in the comments and be like, actually, I think bats are pretty cool and they don't suck people's blood. You could, like, people, it's like a fishbowl experiment. People watch you do organizing in real time, and they're able to see organizational positions without outright asking you. This is how you have members and like the friends of friends get the tone, feel, and flavor of who you are as an organization without them having to go do a bunch of online research, ask a bunch of other people about it, and so this is kind of like, a shiny car. It all sounds and looks really good in a catalog, but whenever you drive it, it's a little bit different. So I would say I said all this really to say, like, negative comments doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It can actually trick the algorithm to have more people see your content than otherwise.
Hey, Katie, we have a great question in the chat. What about hyperlinks with a thumbnail image? Does that count as images?
Great question. This is not something that Facebook has always done. This is introduced like relatively recently, like the last couple of years, because of the algorithm. One thing I would say is if you do not have an image that you can create on your own, then yes, use the thumbnail. But the ratio you should be like going for as far as content would be a 60-40 rule. 60% of the content you want to have be your own, or you are resharing links and articles that you give your own personal flavor on. 40% meaning you have users generated content, meaning people take a picture of themselves and send it to you and you do something like that. Or it's just straight up, here's an article from New York Times, no context. Here's like just a yay, we agree sort of thing. Some people even use the 80-20 rule. 80% of links that are not your own, but that you give your own personal spin on, 20% that is your own original content. I tend to go for the more you can have saying this is demonstrating who you are as an organization, the better off you are. Because we can go anywhere and read a New York Times article. That's fine. But we want to know why you as an organization or as a movement leader or organizer are down with what this article is saying, your reaction to this, and that whole sort of thing. The key with social media is being as unique as possible, so then people know why they should listen to you. The biggest thing I can say right now is in a world in which what we're hearing from national politics, administrators, TV, any of that sort of stuff is not necessarily matching up with what we're seeing happen in our streets and in our holler, like wherever. So as an organization, folks are looking for places they can go to trust and that they can go to get an honest opinion and to be told this is what you should believe, that they trust. People really love a trusted messenger, and we're in desperate need of them right now. So how are you being a trusted messenger so then we can, by extension, appreciate and like this article that you're commenting on? That's the majority of what's happening on social media, is we're not actually going and reading the article, but we trust you as a trusted messenger to say this is why we should agree with this headline, this top line, this top fold of this article, etc. And so the more you can establish yourself as a trusted media, a trusted messenger of this, the more you're going to have a consistent long haul base growth, and for you to be able to say this is who we are as an organization.
We have another great question. Yeah. If you don't have your own live videos, how does sharing Facebook live videos from other pages impact your outreach?
They can still impact your outreach, because if you share this live stream of Prince Harry talking with Color of Change, then you say, we really appreciate this conversation. It's really interesting to see how Prince Harry, like what he said in the last 10 seconds, give it a listen. It does increase people to be able to see this thing, but also it's really helpful for your base to see that you are uplifting and highlighting other people in your sphere. If this is where you are wanting to make a connection with Color of Change, if you are wanting to uplift another organization that you're in coalition with, any of that sort of stuff. Organizations like to see who else they're sitting with at the cafeteria table with you, right? Like if we're talking about in a class, in like a school, you have like where you're sitting, and then you have other people of different flavors focusing on like environmental issues. There's the Sierra Club table, there's the lawyers, environmentalist table. Where are you sitting? And then who else is sitting around us? That's really key too, is if you are going to share content of people that you are proud to be in coalition with, and that you're also wanting to bring your members over to them as well, because they can do that as well and then bring their members over to you. This is why social media swapping is really actually pretty impactful and important. people that share Instagram and that they're changing it up and saying, I'm taking over Katie LeBlanc's Instagram for the day, see what my life is about. This is where you have trusted messengers that are in partnership with each other, are able to share each other's base and say, actually, there's a lot of us that agree with this, that agree on these tenets. And that can be a really strategic move as well. Thanks so much for the questions, Charlie. I'm gonna move on just because we are, losing time. Okay, I think that's it. So how you can start to measure, am I getting at that good ratio? Am I posting a good medium between our own original content, links from third-party outsiders in New York Times or any of that sort of stuff, coalition and partner sort of work? Are we highlighting that as well? You want to start using, if you aren't already, a content calendar. A content calendar is basically an Excel sheet. I use Airtable, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. It is a place for you to see in one fell swoop, are we posting every day? What type of content are we posting? And also what time of day are we posting? Because you want to post when people are listening to you. And you can find this in your Facebook Insights tab whenever you're a manager on a page. And whenever you're in there, it can tell you everything to the granular of what city and town and what number of viewers do we have there. Is anyone familiar with Insights, or would it be helpful for me to show you what that looks like? I see Kathy nodding. Any others? Give a thumbs up if you want me to show you what Insights looks like. I see one from Alexander, Charlie. Okay.
Just to break in for a quick minute, like I kind of know how it works, but it seems like a little convoluted at times. I'm not sure if I had to pay for like setting up a content calendar, if it was just like I could just do it with what I was currently working with.
Yeah, okay. Let me get through content calendars and I'll show Insights, because they work in tandem with each other. So the recommendation I give for a content calendar is called, you can either use Excel if you want to, but I use Airtable, AIRTABLE. This is actually what I'm showing right here. Is this little equation here is really all that you need to set up in both creating images, creating content, video, any of that sort of stuff. You can create all of that on Canva, and then you schedule it into Airtable, and Airtable can auto post for you through integration, and I'll get into that in a minute. It gets a little bit wonky, but this is really the two things I use to manage several different social media calendars for several different organizations, and I pair that whenever I look at our insights and our data to say what type of content is working, what did people engage with, and where are some growing edges for us? Do we need to be posting more? Do we need to be doing some ads and things like that? So a content calendar is crucial because you have, whenever you run an ad, if people go to your page and see that you have no recent conversation happening, no recent posting, it is not consistent, people will see the ad, but they will not engage with your organization. Essentially, wasted money. You need to be having consistent organic conversation and posting and all that sort of stuff to have ads really be successful. Content calendars are also crucial because, like I said, analyzing what content works and seeing where paid media can be strategic at opportune times. You have the launch of a campaign, you have a major win that you want to celebrate. You want to have a world that whenever people who have not known or heard of you before, they go to your world, that there's a way for them to know that you're an actual person. There is a lot of fake ads. There is a lot of fake organizations. There's a lot of fake users. You want to be as relevant and feeling and sounding like they're talking and hearing from a human being as possible. One tip I would have on that, do not ever post the same thing that you would write on Facebook that you would also write on Twitter. That feels not authentic, does not feel genuine. And so you definitely want to be able to make sure that you are speaking to different audiences, because across platform, they are very different people. So I have a recommendation here that is if you are just running your own social media, if you're the only person running your social media, a content calendar can be very helpful. What you can also do is have your content calendar be the scheduling that you can do in platform itself, if that's TweetDeck or if that's scheduling in platform itself or scheduling in Facebook itself. So it looks like it might be helpful for me to show you what this looks like. So let me go to a page that I am running. I will use One Ohio Now for a quick example. Again, this is just for educational purposes. Please do not take screenshots of any of this, just for education. Let's say you go to the page. And again, this only works if you're an administrator on the page. So if you're not, make sure that you get in contact with the person who is and they make you an administrator. You can go to the page, go down to posts. Oops. I have a little slow internet also. Hang on. Let's say you're wanting to make a post here. It'll pop up. For post scheduling and additional options are available in publishing tools. You'll click that. And this is where you can start scheduling your content to be produced at the day and time that you want it to. So this is what it means whenever I say schedule in platform, specifically scheduling in Facebook. You can go here, create a post. You can also see the posts that have been published. You can see scheduled posts that are coming up. And then you can create a post and go in here and schedule it this way. You will just be adding in different aspects of time, date, and that whole sort of stuff. You can see all of that here. Now, if you are in the page as well, like I just said, you can go to Insights right here, typically under More, Insights. And this is where you can see all of your analytics of what you currently have as your membership. Followers, likes, reach, page views, actions on page, videos, stories, people, and you can get very granular. As in, I can look and see what type of content had the highest engagement. We can go in and see what information do we have about our followers. Am I only talking to people in Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati, but really we're a rural organization? What is going on with that? You can also fidget with the days here, and so you can say, okay, starting out now, I'm going to be doing and implementing a lot of what Katie says and what I hear from other people, and then let's see if we have some trajectory and growth in the way that we're wanting it to. You can, like I said, there's a whole world that you can get into here for reach, and it's all sorts of analytics of saying, here's what's working and here's what's not, and da-da-da-da-da. So this is Insights. This is where you go in to look at it. There's a whole world for you to be able to learn more about what else is going on. And here you can learn about age and gender. This is under page views by country and by city. And this is where it's really helpful for you to be able to know more of saying, this is where we're starting out from. So I'll show you what Airtable looks like and why this can actually be really impactful. This is what I use as my social media calendar. And this is also pretty effective whenever you're using it with a lot of other people. For example, you are managing social media volunteers and you want to know who is scheduling what. Is there going to be consistent posting? Who's in charge of what? So I will show you what I'm doing with the Ohio Voice Digital Learning Lab. This is where I'm working with several organizations on building up a content calendar, or if I'm supporting on ad development, any of that sort of stuff. What this looks like is essentially a robust Excel sheet that I will have a post title and See, hang on. We can get into describing each piece of content. So I can, in Airtable, I can describe each piece of content and then being able to say, is a quote image, infographic, meme, we have videos, we have live, we have internal article, no image. We can start to describe each piece of content and then saying what is working, what is not. But here's where it gets interesting. Let's say, for example, you have your go live and time date. You can link your different channels to Airtable, and then you can have your Facebook copy with that is you want to have posted onto your page, along with an image that you can upload. For example, here's an image that I made in Canva, which I'll show you in a minute. All of this gets auto-scheduled into a third-party management tool. We were using Hootsuite, if you want to look into that. I don't think it's worthwhile, and I'll tell you why. I was managing data, looking at the suppression that Facebook gives, different types of suppression that Facebook gives whenever you are scheduling with a third party. Since Facebook gives preferential treatment, like I just talked about, to stuff that happens in Facebook, it goes the same for if you're scheduling in Facebook versus having Hootsuite do the scheduling and posting for you. You all may have seen whenever you have a post, it says published by Hootsuite. I saw a dramatic difference whenever I was posting from Hootsuite versus posting in platform itself. We're talking about thousands of people fewer seeing a post when it was scheduled with Hootsuite versus when it was scheduled in Facebook. So I would say use a content calendar to be able to manage and see what type of content do we have. Is there something that's posted for every day? In Airtable, what I also like is that you can do a calendar and you can look at and say, I can see right here, what are all the, do we have something being posted every day? What is the post? And then being able to make sure it's all good to go. Again, I'm doing this with different organizations, and this has all been really helpful. We are already, in doing this just for a couple of weeks, we're seeing already double audience growth, just simply because you are posting content your audience and the friends of your friends want to see, and we're posting consistently. So a variety of content, again, a video, a YouTube link, an article, a funny video, a question or a quiz, and you're having a conversation, and there's always something that they should be looking out for.
Hey, Katie, would you be able to explain a little bit of the differences between Airtable and Excel sheet or a Google sheet? Or I don't know if you can do it.
Yeah, so the biggest difference right now is that if you wanted to, actually, I'll pull this up. If you are a digital organizer, this is a tool that you need to know how to use. It's called Zapier, Z-A-P-I-E-R. This is a Swiss Army knife of digital tools. It allows tools that typically would not speak to each other. It allows them to talk to each other. So you can have Airtable, this is the little logo for Airtable right here, talk to and be automated into Slack, into Hootsuite, into Facebook, into your email program, anything. So I'd say the number one difference is how robust Airtable is in being able to talk to other tools and do a lot of the work for you. An Excel sheet is nice. It can be nice just because it can look a lot like this, right? It has the cells, and you can go in and create the same thing right here. And it just would not speak to other tools, which actually I think that's fine. Since I know that Hootsuite does not have content go very far, and that's what I was using in conjunction with Airtable, I would say an Excel sheet would be just as fine. Just as long as you know the different types of content you're posting about, making sure it's getting scheduled, and how you make sure it's scheduled is that you can go into the platform and then say, yes, I have content scheduled for every single day of the month, every day of the week, and things like that. So this is one way that you can have a couple of tools, double your audience, And it can be really helpful whenever you're training volunteers on how to do something that you as a manager would be able to see. So I will, like I said, Canva and Airtable, those are two things. I think it could also just be equally as fine using an Excel. I think it's really just more about the practice. Are you posting consistently different types of content? Yes, this goes the same for Twitter as well, which I'm getting to Twitter. These are a couple screenshots that I have of this, and I showed you already in real time, but I can send you a blank Airtable or a blank Excel sheet for you to be able to copy and paste and start using as immediately. Again, it's very, very helpful. I just like Airtable because I can see different views and I can have many people different using it, and especially with people who do not have Google Excel sheets, since that's what a lot of people use. So anyways, I'd say it's really down to your preference. As long as you're doing the practice, I think everything's fine. And this is, again, little screenshots that I have of being able, what it looks like for you to schedule in platform and being able to schedule for the future. And this is what that would look like. And then here I took a screenshot of the different, the scheduled post and being able to see that you have the dates and it's showing that you're posting every day. So I mentioned this a little bit before, but content testing. This is really helpful in being able to know what works, what isn't, but also being able to have a pipeline that you're putting together. Are you having people see content that also is leading them to something else? So it's getting them off Facebook and into your email list, off Facebook onto your website, off Facebook signing a petition or doing something in person. And so this is what I call a daisy chain or ladder of engagement, whatever you want to call it. It's really saying, okay, we're doing and asking and having conversations with people on Facebook. What is the next step? And so this is really comes down to what is your organizing cycle? What are you asking for right now? I know many people are asking individuals in Ohio right now to do the census and also register to vote or vote by mail, make a voting plan, any of that sort of stuff. So really saying organic, consistent posting leads to having more people seeing your content. That leads to more people taking action in the way that you need and want them to. And then all that leads to bringing them into your universe, bringing them into your membership, having them become volunteers. And you can see how we say ladder of engagement is that it keeps going up and up and up. But it only happens whenever you offer them and open the door for them to bring themselves into your world. I have insight here, and this is really getting to the building your capacity. Opening the door and inviting volunteers to come in can only really happen whenever you have a plan for what they're going to be doing. So looking at everything being I'd say a lot of our work now being digital, physically distanced, and the whole thing is saying, what are some growing edges for us, and where do we need capacity for growing and bringing people into our program? Some offers that I like to give of saying, we have a bunch of people on social media, everyone's asking us what they can do. A really simple thing that you can offer is having people submit a photograph of you. There was a launch recently of people doing hashtag my best USPS story. And this was a really big hit because this was a way for you to be able to read a lot of other different types of stories of building up all the things of what the USPS has done for a long time and needed for a long time, right? But it's a way for also what we're calling user-generated content. So what is something that you could do with your base to have them engage with you? My best voting story. Here's my voting plan. I took the census, how about you? All the way to join our digital engagement program, our digital organizers cohort, or any of that sort of stuff. This is all ways for you to train individuals or outsource your training. I lead trainings for volunteer groups all the time, but being able to say, this is now how we have rock stars who are constantly in our comment section, sharing our posts. They are always open our emails. They're always signing our petitions. They're hungry for more. And so you saying, how do we take our data, posting consistently, seeing who our audience is, and then giving them some next steps to do. A good way of you being able to also know where you're currently at with your social media is conducting a social media audit. I have created a template. I and some others have created a template for you to be able to take a look at and plug in some numbers of saying, okay, here's our benchmark. Here's where we're at right now, August 25th, 2020. Let's enter in data every month and see, like, are we tracking ourselves and are we increasing the way that we want to with the people that we're needing to. So Facebook ads. I know we have lots of questions on Facebook ads. So I will do a bit on this. So also taking, this goes until 6:30. I'm wanting to have some time at the end. So if I may fly through some of the other stuff, you are going to get this presentation and we will have this recording. So again, I'll always be here for questions as well. So Facebook ads, there are some things you need to know for being able to run them. Individual authorization is needed. The steps for being able to do this is, number one, having a letter mailed to you so that you can type in a unique code that Facebook gives to you into Facebook for authorization. Oops. What happened? Yeah. Also, what else is required is uploading a photo ID of yours, a photo ID that you have, and also answering some questions about you and where you've previously lived, what type of car you have. A lot of questions to say, are you as an individual a real person? This is Facebook's attempt at being able to cut down on Facebook on fake ad placement and fake ad placers. So yeah, one consideration on this is that it is going to take time. Before it took 7 days, and that's not with a USPS slowdown. So I am telling people, if you are wanting to run ads, it's going to take some time. 1 to 3 weeks, maybe even 4, depending on where you live and how rural. I mean, USPS, they're under attack. This is what this looks like. But it cannot be automated. A letter does have to be mailed to you. Second, for being able to run ads, you have to be a page, and your page has to be an authorized 501c3 or C4. You need to enter in your IEN number, but also you need to enter in an address and phone number that Facebook is going to have on record for 7 years. So I would advise not to have a cell phone of an employee's phone number be offered up, but a Google number for your office, an office number, something like that, because they are going to keep that on file. This can take everywhere from 24 hours to weeks. I was supporting groups and being able to do this, and then Facebook had staff walkouts, and so it took several days. We're talking about like 7 days for being able to have approval. Typically, it was 24 hours. So I'd say there's a lot of things that are in limbo, and the organizational approval is what you get whenever it says this is paid by. And if you look at this ad example that I have from League of Women Voters, it says paid for by League of Women Voters. That is what is called your political disclaimer. And that's what happens whenever you get organizational approval. Just like Facebook is wanting to make sure that you are a real person, they're also wanting to make sure that the organization you're running ads on behalf of is a real organization based in the United States, doing work here. So that's the initial hurdles you have to cross over in being able to run ads. There are other hurdles that come into in the ad itself. So there's different pieces to an ad. You have the image or the video, which is called the creative. That's this blue image here with the red and bold and white sort of stamp, things like that. Then you have the copy. The copy is right here, is the language like caption that you have with the ad. This is the external. Down here, we also see the headline for where people are going to go when they click on the ad. It's going to take them to an Action Network page, but you also have this headline down here. You also have this button that says learn more. There's other things you can click. You can have this button say sign up, buy now. There's different options for that. But then this is external. Internal Oh, also one thing I want to say, you have this confirmed organization. This doesn't show up on the ad all the time, but it does show that it is a confirmed organization when you hover over it. Anyways, internally, what you see on the back end for pieces of the ad is your targeting. Your targeting is going to be take into consideration both who you are targeting that wants to see the ad, but also take into consideration what is your target. I know many organizations have, for example, you're calling out President Trump, or you're calling out Biden, or you're doing something like that. Be cognizant whenever you use the word target. I'm targeting an audience versus targeting a decision maker. Just wanted to make that distinction. But targeting your audience, this is where it can get in to be pretty tricky. 2 recommendations for uploading a list for a Facebook target. You can create Facebook audiences, and this is where you upload a list of names from, let's say they signed an Action Network petition. You can upload the signers of that, and Facebook matches with names and also the type of person that they have, the type of person that signed this petition. And that's where you can create and upload an audience. I mentioned before, you can create a lookalike audience, and that says where you can create and find people who are all really similar to Katie LeBlanc. Katie LeBlanc likes soil, and she likes like big rig trucks. Okay, who is someone that else is kind of like her that we think would also really like this content? If she does, her friends probably do too. That's that 1 degree of outside your friends that even is coming down to ads as well. So that's a lookalike audience. And then you can do targeting based on interest. Every time you're like, I like Applebee's and Gatorade. This is all a piece of how Facebook has 10,000 data points about each individual. They know they're tracking your likes, your interest, who else you follow, who they follow, and it gives predictives on what they think you might like as well. So this is where you can do, if I want this person to see this League of Women Voters ad, they're probably also interested in Red Wine and Blue, and they're also maybe interested in The Daily Show, and they're also maybe interested in Nancy Pelosi. And then these are all different things and how you can create what an overall sort of guesstimate is around who else you think would be interested in seeing this ad. You can get even more specific of targeting based on location, based on genders. Right now, Facebook only has female and male genders, so that's one thing you should mention that you need to know. Also, you can target on 18-year-olds and up to 65. That's the age range right now. One thing that you do need to also know around Facebook ads is you need to claim that this is a political, or this is an advocacy issue. I would say most work that we are doing that's on this call is going to be a political issue. Even if it's not talking about a legislator, even if it's not talking about anything, I would say most everything is being flagged now as political. I've had, other things to consider, well, I'd say most everything is being considered political on Facebook now. Clicking that disclaimer and having to have all these other steps is going to be almost mandatory moving forward. Number 4, I have here, where does the ad lead to, and having a consideration of where are they going. Number 5 is a pixel. Pixel is a whole other conversation. Unsure if anyone knows about that. Give a thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about when I say a Facebook pixel. Sue Lynn, yep. Anyone else know what I mean when I say Facebook pixel? Kathy, do you? Okay, anyways. So a Facebook pixel is basically a 2-part system. You have the beginning of a bookend, and this is where you say, okay, I have this Facebook ad, and this is the specific code that's with that. Then you have the end cap, which fires to say, let's say they sign a petition, they get to a thank you page. On the thank you page is where you'd have a specific snippet of code that would be embedded into your message through HTML, or there's also, if you're using Action Network, there's another place that you can add this. But this is basically for Facebook and for you to know that this person completed the ask all the way to the end. And that's how you're able to know that you have, an ad, 50 million people saw an ad and 10 million people signed it. That's how you're able to know that people went through and did the whole thing. And this is what we call a pixel. You just need one pixel. Facebook can either provide you a pixel or you maybe already have your own. If you want to know more about that, feel free to email me. But it can be very simple. It's just a matter of knowing where to place it and all that sort of stuff. Last I have here, let me see, I see something in the chat. Thank you, Charlie. Last I have here is A/B testing. If you want to create different types of ads, this is more of you gauging what is your audience like. What are they engaging with? What is most likely to catch their eye and all that sort of stuff. So I have several different ads running for League of Women Voters and different voting groups, and being able to say, okay, this is the general tone, this is the general look of an ad, and this is what's catching people's eye. Generally, when you're doing A/B testing, everything about the ad will stay the same except for one thing across different. So let's say they all have the same copy, different graphic. They all have different copy, slightly different graphic, or the same graphic but different sort of language, meaning more aggressive, more soft, and things like that. And this is where you can say, here are the type of ads that really resonate with our base. This is more information for you to make strategic next decisions on not wasting money, but also knowing with proof what works. I'll say a quick bit on digital layering. And so let's say you put out a digital ad, and like, what is the next step for individuals that you want them to take with you? You need to have a plan. You have to have a plan. It's not just enough for someone to like make a Facebook post or to put out an ad or anything there. You need to have what is the web of where they can go. And so me as a digital manager, this is what I'm thinking about and creating and supporting others in creating. So let's say they go to a web sign up or a website, or they go, they meet you on social media. Where is the next place that you're wanting to send them? That you can collect their name, their information, their email list, have them join the email list, have them join your texting program, all that sort of stuff. And so here, let's say if they start out in social, are you sending them to your website or somewhere they can sign up for something? And then are you sending them to your email, AKA a CRM or a customer relationship management tool? From that, we have donate, or we can also have them attend a digital event. And then did they actually attend the digital event? That is two separate things, because people who register, we had 30-some people register this event, and then we didn't have 30 people come. So how many actually attended? And then where else are we sending them to do this? I could talk all day about this like simple engagement system sort of plan. This actually was created with by my good friend Jay, and I'm excited to talk more about it and see what does this look like for you and your organization. This is a lot of what I'm supporting organizations in doing, and what I find the most joy in is thinking, what is the web in which we're sending people to, so that we're not just putting out a flare and then there's not anything else we're asking them to do. So I'm going to go through Twitter, and we have 15 minutes. So this is going to be great. Twitter, broad line overviews is that not a lot of people are on Twitter. I think 20% of US people are on Twitter. So if you break that down into how many people in Ohio use Twitter, it's not very many. However, Twitter is useful. It has a very different audience than Facebook. It is different in that the majority of people who use Twitter are going to be famous people, influencers, and decision makers, targets that we have for our political and advocacy work. Here we have, you can look at what are the generalizations of who a Twitter person is. They tend to be younger, more highly educated, and wealthier than the general public. So this is why you don't ever really want to say like what you'd be saying on Facebook, on Twitter, and you certainly would never want to say something that you would have on Twitter and take that over to Facebook. Facebook generalization, they tend to be everybody, billions and billions of users. Young people use Facebook a lot, actually. They use it because it's a way for them to keep in touch with families, particularly BIPOC communities, particularly families that are migratory, or they are families that are separated by oceans or by land masses or any of that sort of stuff, this is a way for them to be able to keep in touch, because Facebook Messenger is very, very powerful. They may not be on Facebook, but you have a ton of people who use Facebook Messenger as well. But Facebook is where all the fish live. The wealthier, more influencer, target decision maker, those type of fish live on Twitter. And I would say Twitter can be very effective in having a decision maker think the world is caving in on them, because people who are on Twitter tend to be active users. And so whenever you have 200 people tweet at an individual, it can really distort their sense of reality. And we've seen this happen time and time again, of where a couple of like 100 tweets or something like that can be kind of a top line news story. Yes, Alexander, you can feel free to send me a one-on-one. That's, yes, Novak, yes, that sounds great. How to cultivate your Twitter following. Since only a fraction of the population is on Twitter, it's really how do you go to cultivate different relationships with particular individuals. I will say, just like the generalization that only old people are on Facebook, no, they tend to be the active users though. Same thing with Twitter. Twitter can actually be a really strong community for different people that have created and cultivated their own sense. An example of this is native Twitter, which is the actual thing no one really talks about or knows about really. I mentioned this because some Potawatomi, but also people may have heard of Black Twitter. There are different communities that are using the platform for different purposes. It's really about saying, who are your people and how are you going to use this platform for your organizing purposes and for your community building purposes. I would say if you're going to have people use Twitter, check and see if it's actually something that's intuitive. Trying to get people to use a new platform is not as effective as actually mobilizing where your people already live. And your people may be on social media, but they also may be living and talking to each other in DMs or through texting and things like that. This is why I'd say the first step in building and if you're starting out or taking over a social media account or anything, is saying, where are people kind of already at? So tips and tricks and best practices I have here is tweet out content that will interest the people you want to attract. And this is kind of the friends of the friends rule, and also show that you retweet others. You want to follow back people quickly and unfollow inactive accounts. 1 month or 1 month plus of silence is worthy of an unfollow. That's because the majority of Twitter accounts are actually fake accounts or inactive. So this is why people are hesitant of following and doing individuals. That's why if you're going to be on Twitter, be a consistent tweeter. And also tweet whenever people are going to be listening to you. The best times to tweet is 9 a.m., but the sweet spot is really like 11 to 1 and after 5 p.m. or 5 p.m. People really use it, since if we think about who is on Twitter and when they're on it, it's really during working hours, a traditional 9 to 5 working hours sort of time. And so again, just more things to consider whenever you look at what is the audience of the platform and also what does their life look like? How does that match up with your organization, what you're trying to do, and things like that. I have here building relationships. Since that's really probably the most important thing I think as organizers we could be using Twitter for. Building relationships with journalists and decision makers, influencers, and being able to also show that who else you are in partnership with. Mention tweets and comments, or monitoring tweets and comments of journalist writings, tweet out insider info to press, making yourself unique to them, and also creating lists. If you don't know about Twitter, they can change the game as far as your association with Twitter. But a daily watch list, a media list, an allies list, affiliates or chapters, this is all really, really effective, especially if you're, I think of Legal Women Voters, there's so many different organizations out there. If there is a Legal Women Voters Twitter list, this is how you can start to retweet other chapters and being able to show work that is happening across an entire country and things like that. Again, it's also a way to supplement content out there so it doesn't have to just solely come from you and your people. I'm flying through this, I apologize. Here are some tips for I got this from Social Movement Technologies. Messaging formatting, there is a way for you to be able to message. Each platform, I will say, has their own specifications on its preferred size of content. When you use Canva, you can type in, I want to create a Facebook post, and it auto-populates the perfect sized image for that platform. The same thing goes for Twitter. It will auto-populate a Twitter image, and so you don't have to worry about resizing any of that. You can also create custom dimensions as well, I'll say. You want to go to analytics.twitter.com for being able to see what is your top performing post, what's the top performing post of your top follower, and some of that stuff for more basic data. Again, benchmark creation of where are you starting out from to then know where you can grow, very, very crucial. This is what it looks like on whenever you're in it. This is a screenshot from inequality.org, but this is where you can see your 28-day summary, for example, your top tweet, top mention, and then being able to know about profile, impressions, followers, and if you're growing or something like that. Again, since I've been working with them, we're seeing that there's consistent growth everywhere. And also we've gotten a lot of clarity on who are we specifically talking to when we're on Twitter. To use Twitter and to use social media, you really have to know pretty concretely what is your organizational theory of change and what is your strategy, considering the different types of people that are on platform. And then how do you speak to different people, bring them to different sort of areas that you're at, and having a different tone, which I think is why a content calendar can be really important. Are you making sure that your tone across platform is different, since there are different people? So I just wanted to say, next up we have Thursday, 5 to 6:30. We're gonna do a TikTok and Instagram dive. You can RSVP if you haven't already at our OV Facebook page. And if you have any questions, here's my email. I know Charlie has linked it in the comments throughout. So feel free to send me an email if you have any questions or wanna know more. I am also supporting organizations for Digital Learning Lab, in which I help create all this for you, train people on how to do it, and then hand it over to you. The analogy has really been, we're building the plane as we fly it, and then you all become the pilots. And it's something that you can sustain for the long haul, because I think if, other than not posting frequently, posting every once in a while and then no one hears anything from you is actually more detrimental than if you didn't say anything at all. So really, how do we build something for long-term sustained growth for you all, especially whenever you all are wanting to grow into new areas, bring in new audience members and things like that. It's not daunting, but it is something that I think is really beneficial. So as promised, I'm gonna go ahead and Charlie, if you want to stop recording.